everyone, thanks for joining today. So today we are going to be looking at some botanical drawings and paintings. So this is kind of inspired by what we did on Thursday night in the evening art social. We did plant portraits. So this is what I did on our Thursday evening social. These usually happen every fortnight. It's 7 till 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. We do it on Zoom and anyone can get involved. It's usually, there's a loose theme, so we've had pet portraits, we've had self-portraits, and this week we did plant portraits. And I think there was about 12 of us this week, which was a really great turnout, really good fun, very informal social art. Not really even a class or a workshop, just kind of an environment where people can chat and do some artwork at the same time. So this has kind of been inspired by that. So I'm just going to look at a few different ways to draw plants, leaves. Some of them are more kind of, slightly more kind of illustration based, very kind of basic line drawings. These are more kind of abstract takes on leaves, flowers, anything you can find really. And then this was a slightly more kind of realistic drawing I did, painting as well, of a houseplant that I've got. So, and this is another one that I did just this morning, which is really easy but really effective. So I'm just going to look at a few different techniques really and show you a few different things you can do. You can have quite a lot of fun with this as well. There's no kind of, like some of our other workshops we've done, you know, there's no kind of definite way of doing this. You kind of just do it in your own style, your own techniques. So I'm just going to start off just showing you how I did these very cute little cactus plants. You can see that. I did just use a biro for this. You can use anything sort of fine liner wise you can use. So the nice thing about these is you've got different pots, different sort of geometric shaped pots, and I did get some inspiration on Pinterest for this. Pinterest is always a really good place to go if you need any kind of art inspiration, anything in particular you're looking to find, and they've got a lot of really interesting stuff on there. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw some of these. So in terms of the pots, you can be quite creative with what the pots look like. Start off really simple at first, just with that sort of shape, and then you're just kind of adding in almost sort of sausage shaped domes for cacti, and then you just want to add in the back of the pot as well, just so you get that nice kind of 3D feel. And then you're just adding in lots of little lines, crosses as well, look really great for cactuses. move this down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a bit better. And you can leave these as just little illustrations, or you can start adding colour over the top of them as well. These look really nice just with some little watercolour accents. So in terms of this plant pot, it's just a thin rectangle, and then you add the base in, and then just two kind of long sausages again, and then make sure you add in that little back bit of the plant pot too. And then with these ones, straight lines and then curved lines just down the sides. So you sort of get something that looks like that. And then again, just go and put some crosses down the lines, and that's what gives you that cactus effect. So you can really have a lot of fun with these. They are just really sort of little cute illustrations. Really, really easy to do. You don't need a huge amount of artistic expertise to do anything like this. But they do look really cute, really effective, and like I say, you can sort of add in colours, you can use even coloured pencils or something as well. So I'm going to move on to my more abstract ones that I've been doing. So you can use watercolours for this. I've got watercolour pens again. So what I did for this was I basically just kind of drew sort of a wiggly line like that. And then you want to just start adding leaves in different colours. If you're doing this with actual watercolour paints, you can go straight in with the water as well and just make some slightly kind of faint leaf markings. You can do it in different colours, it doesn't have to be leafy colours. You can be a bit creative with it, going with some yellows, some blues, even some lilacs or something. Once you've got those sort of rough leaves on there, just go in with your water. You just kind of blend that out just so you've got some kind of rough leaf patterns there. This doesn't need to be particularly neat because you're going to be drawing over this as well, so this can just be a little bit of a background you've got. Go with a bit more blue. got that nice background. Once you've got that sort of background colour, just want to let that dry off for a little while. And then I'll show you how I've done this one. So this one I used a fine liner just to create the kind of basis of the plant. So just the stem. And draw it quite faintly, quite lightly. And then you just want some little branches coming off. Just like that. And then I took my watercolour pen, and again you can use your actual watercolour paints just by dipping them straight in, getting quite concentrated colour, and then just, as I'm doing here, just putting some couple of dots either sides of the line. There's one on the end of the line. And then you're going to go in with your water afterwards and just blend it. So I'm going to go in with my watercolour water pen, and you're just kind of blending out each dot. Sometimes works quite well if you dab a little more water on there than you think you need, and it will just kind of bleed out on its own, make a really nice effect. Again, you don't have to do this with black, you can do this with different colours. I quite like the sort of monochrome effect of this one. Really super simple, but really quite effective. And this is something you could add in to your paintings, your sort of landscapes or anything like that. And as you can see, every time you do it, it looks slightly different as well. So it really just depends on how much you want to blend it out. You can go back in and add a bit more colour into it if you feel like you've lost a bit of the definition there. So now this one's dry, I'm gonna go in with my black marker pen. And you're just going to start by just drawing up the middle of the stem. Just following it up, a curve. And then right at the top you just want to do a basic leaf shape. You don't have to be too artistic with this, just a basic kind of oval leaf shape. And then a line down the middle. Pen's running out slightly. I'll leave that one to dry a little bit longer. So while that's drying, I'll have a look at doing a few more of these. So I'm going to have a go. Just grab watercolour paper. If you don't have watercolour paper, you can just use another thicker paper. Just be wary that if you sort of load it with too much water, it does get quite soggy. It doesn't always take water as well as sort of good quality watercolour paper. Again, you can use you can use felt tips, you can use coloured crayons for this. If you don't have watercolours, that's totally fine. So I'm just gonna do another one of these cactuses, and then I'm going to try filling it in with watercolour and see what that looks like. I'm going to do it a little bit bigger this time. And just adding in the back plant again. So again, just a line down the middle of each. And then just want to do some curved lines off that top line, and that just gives it the illusion that it's a bit rounder. And then just add your crosses in again. You can go over this with a thicker pen later on if you want to just give it a little bit more definition as well. I'm just going to move the camera down a little bit more. A little bit harder to see with the fine liners. So I'm gonna do a pink plant pot, I think. So I'm just gonna go in, not over the whole thing, just around some of the edges. And I'm just gonna blend that out with my water pen here. And then I'm just going to go in with a green, maybe 2 tones of green for the cactus. So I'm just going to start doing some of the lighter ones in the centre, and then some slightly darker colours, darker green on the outside. These just blend quite nicely together. Don't have to be too perfect about it. If you want to go in again, like I say, with a thicker pen at the end just to sort of tidy it all up, that's totally fine. Then I'm just going to use a brown for these little side parts, just to give that a little bit of definition. And I'm going to let that one dry. I'm just going to do another one over here. You'd like to go in with a pencil first, just to kind of sketch in the shape of it. It usually helps the sort of precision when you go back in with the pen. I'm just doing it sort of quickly for ease. So this is going to be another cactus, so I'm just going to go in with some lines and some crosses on this one. You want them sort of going in different directions. You don't want them to be too exact, quite sort of random. And again, if anyone's following along at home today, or if anyone's done any paintings or drawings of leaves, flowers that they've been particularly proud of recently, just send them over. You can either email them to anna.ridley@leedsmind.org.uk, or you can just send us a private message on Facebook. So once you've done that, you can start filling in your pot again with whatever colour you like. I'm doing some quite bright colours today. And again, I'm just really doing it around one side, just so you get that kind of nice fade across the whole pot. Just gives it a bit of depth. And again, just going to add some brown. Just bits in between. And then again, just the lighter colour down the front of the cactus. And then a dark green down each side. And there you go, just a really easy, simple way to experiment with a more kind of illustration way of drawing. And then once you sort of add the paints, add the colour over the top, it just gives it a bit more life. But it is still quite nice just to sort of keep it as line drawings as well. I really like these. So I'll come back to this one, it's hopefully dried now. Anything working with watercolours, sometimes you have to be very patient. Helps sometimes to go in with a hairdryer or something just to kind of finish it off if it's not totally dry. So again, what I was saying with this is you just go down the centre. And then you just, in that leaf pattern at the top, just some straight lines. You're really almost trying to make it look not really like a realistic leaf. You want it to be quite sort of geometric, quite abstract. And then you're doing something different for each leaf. So the second leaf, you don't have to draw exactly over where the colour is. It actually looks more effective if you sort of do it randomly rather than over the actual colour. So this one we're just doing the outline, and then you're just going to do a little bit there and a little bit there. And again for this side. We're going to do one up the middle, and then we're just going to add lines to one side. And then probably a little bit further down here. Going to add a leaf, and then we're going to do another leaf over the top, but slightly to the side of it, so you're getting a double almost. And then I'm going to go down here and do another leaf like the one we did right at the top. And if you've done any of our other art workshops, you can really sort of use all of those other skills, like the geometric drawing, like the abstract watercolours. You can sort of apply that to lots of different things. and really have fun experimenting with them. I'm just going to do another one here with just 2 lines. And then something I found really effective with this one in particular was going in with the white Posca pen again. So I'm just going to do some white leaves. And another one down here. This obviously works best if you've got some slightly darker colours on there as well, and the white will really pop out through it. And then you can also add white highlights to other parts of your leaves. Just some nice little subtle highlights. And again, you can do this with all sorts of different colours. I'm going to try a slightly darker one this time. I'm going to do purple and blue. So I'm going to go in again just with that of the middle, and I'm going to do a few here. Just do it randomly. Might add some pink in there as well. I think sometimes things can look quite intimidating. Once you see them when they're finished, you think, oh, I could never do that. But once you actually break it down, you know, anyone can do things like this. It's really not difficult at all. And for people who are particularly artistic and practice quite a lot, these things are nice little exercises just to kind of get your creativity going. You know, maybe pushing yourself out your comfort zone a little bit. I don't use colours a huge amount, or bright colours at least, in my artwork. So this has been really interesting for me to allow myself to do that and just kind of experiment a bit with that and not feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. You can just really roughly blend these out. You don't need to worry too much about them looking perfect. It's quite nice actually if there's a bit of messiness to them, really, because then once you do go in and add the sort of details, you have a really nice expressive background, and then quite sort of exact markings over the top. And in fact I might just go in with my spray bottle, just give that a little bit more run. Of course, one way of making these things dry a little bit faster is to use a hairdryer, so I'm just going to do that briefly now. While that's just drying off, I'm going to try another one of these ones that I did to begin with. I'm going to try doing it in colour this time. So again, just grab your fine liner. If you have just joined us, just roughly go over this. So just a fine liner, felt tip pen, anything really. So you want your stem and then you want a couple of branches coming off it. And then I'm going to do a bit more colour on this one. So I'm just using watercolour pens today, but if you've got watercolours at home you can do that. You can try this with acrylic paint as well. I've got two different colours in here and just see if they blend together. So I'm using sort of an orangey pink and a fuchsia. You can just place the dots on there wherever you feel like you want to put them. Almost like blossoms. And then with your brush, with a bit of water on it, I'll use my actual brush this time. Just dab it on. And blend it out a little bit. I'm going to need a bit more colour on here. course, another thing you can do is load the water on first, and then kind of drop your colours over the top. Although because I'm using watercolour pens, slightly different technique. If I went in now and just dropped in some colour. Darker colour. So I'll leave that one to dry for a bit as well. Back to this one. It's always good just to have a little bit of toilet roll or kitchen roll handy if you have put slightly too much water on there. You can just dab it off. Dry up. Another quick blast with the hairdryer just to make sure it's fully dry before we draw over the top. Okay, so this time I'm going to go in with still going to go in with the black pen, but then I think when I add in the white pen over the top, it's just going to look a little bit more effective. So it's okay if you've lost a little bit of definition here. Quite a nice effective background, and usually when you use the spray as well, it just kind of pushes the paint out even further and you get this really lovely kind of mottled effect. If you don't mind letting the paint do its own thing and not kind of have a certain idea in mind of what you want it to look like, quite a nice thing to work with. So again, I'm just using the same sort of techniques as before. Keeping it nice and simple. And once I go in with this white pen, it should just start to pop a little bit more. And I'm just going to do the same with the other two. I'm just going to finish this one off with the white pen. I'm just going to do a few little dots around some of these darker areas. Just to add a bit of patterning. There you go. So that's sort of an example of what you can do, combining the abstract watercolours, geometric painting, and then bringing the sort of floral aspect to it as well. So we're going to go back to this one now, just while we finish up. I'm just going to try and add in a few darker colours here. Give it a bit more life and make it look a little bit more cherry blossomy. And then just again with some more water. And just let it blur out a little bit. Even if you're feeling adventurous, let it run a little bit. I always quite like that effect. I think I'm just going to give it a spray with this as well. And I'll let that dry off. So, a few different ways of drawing more sort of botanical, slightly abstract pieces, and then some of these more kind of concentrated fine line pieces. Do let me know if you have a go at any of these. And then obviously some of the cactuses we did earlier as well. So next week's live art workshop will be string painting. So this is kind of along the same lines as the acrylic pour that I did in the first week. So it is going to be very messy, probably on a slightly bigger scale as well. And lots of paint, lots of kind of more abstract methods of painting without a paintbrush. So using string to pull the paint around the canvas, around the wood or the cardboard, paper, whatever you plan on using. So I will be putting up what you'll need for that workshop probably next Friday if you want to join us for that one as well. So thank you for joining us today. This will be available on our website, and please look out for any of the other workshops we've got going on during the week as well. Our pre-recorded videos, we've got the craft video on Tuesday, we've got meditation on Wednesday, kids crafts Thursday morning, secret cinema Friday night, and then we're back to our live art workshop next Saturday. So I hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend, and I'll see you later. Thank you.